I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and tonight we are going to play with these leftover acid dyes mixed with citric acid powder that we had used from night 6 of the ChemKnits Hanukkah special. And we are going to use these colors to attempt to recreate the intermediate step from the colorway we were dyeing in night 6, where we have a white base with sort of dispersed rainbow splotches, specks of these fluorescent neon rainbow colors. The powders are maybe a little bit dry. I bet if I tap it, maybe it won't loosen. And this one it did, it loosened a bit. But since my gloves were damp when we were using these previously, we may need to use a similar kind of effect to get the color placement we want today. But we will explore that in a moment. I did film this video a while ago, so I don't remember exactly how I did it, but that's not that big a deal. Sometimes it's really easy to translate a colorway from a 10-gram mini skein to a 100-gram full skein of yarn. But other times that is more challenging. So when we started off with our damp twisted minis and I wiped a little bit of the colors onto that yarn, that gave us light coverage, but there's not that many strands, and so we were able to get reasonable coverage within each mini. And then when you put 10 of them together in a bundle, we had excellent coverage for that 100-gram set. But if we start with a 100-gram skein and have it twisted on the countertop, there is going to be a lot of a portion of yarn that is not exposed to that surface area. And so when we twist and add color, we will have to open up and potentially retwist. And we'll start with, I think, 2 skeins and see how it's going, and then depending on how much dye I have, do more. But with these fluorescent colors, a little bit goes a fairly long way. So I have a lot of yarn pre-soaking in both Knit Pick Stroll, which is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and Knit Pick's Swish DK, which is 100% superwash merino. In case we need more yarn, then we have plenty ready to go. So if you would like to learn more about the tools and equipment I use, the dyes, things like that, I will have affiliate links and other information about this project down in the video description. And since these dyes are still in powder form, whenever I am opening up those containers, I will be wearing a respirator mask, safety glasses, and gloves. I already pre-soaked this yarn, but I've now added 1 skein of each base to 8 cups of water. And to this, I am going to add 1, 2, 3, 4, and about 5 tablespoons of white vinegar. This is a lot of acid, and we do have citric acid in with the dyes themselves, but we do want to give a good chance for the colors to sort of stick where we put them. And so having all this acid in here will give us that good chance. Often I would not really measure the amount of water and acid that I'm using for this, but I did just now because if we like the results, then it is somewhat reproducible. So I'm squeezing out most of the liquid. As you can see, we did not soak in the acidic water for very long at all, but we'll set that water aside. And now I am going to twist up the yarn a bit. I'm not going to go ahead and twist it all the way, but twist it and sort of back and forth like that should work totally fine. Now the DK weight, I'm holding on to the zip tie as I twist. The DK weight yarn has less surface area because there's fewer strands and the strands are thicker than our stroll. But I think we should be able to do something rather nice. So I think my plan is to apply color to this side, flip it over, apply some colors to the other side, open it up and then evaluate and retwist, or just spot add colors as needed. I think that's my plan. I'm now wearing my respirator mask, which is why I'm more muffled. I do have a yarn mop that was not soaked in acid in case I need to wipe any color off of my fingers. I am going to go ahead and sort of tap this so my fingers are a little bit damp. But we may as well start in somewhat rainbow order. So here is some fluorescent fuchsia. So I'm just sort of taking some powder on my fingers and then just less wiping, but more tapping. And I'm attempting, as I do this, to go a little bit across. So if there's going to be a wider splotch, I want it to go across some more strands. And yeah, I will go ahead and wipe my fingers a bit on the yarn mop in between colors. So let me zoom in. Okay, so here you can see that's wide, but each section of color is still rather thin because I made the width go across multiple strands. And so I think that is my goal. Now, I have no idea how the coverage will feel when I open it up, or if I should flip it before opening it up. I don't really know. All I know, this is the fluorescent safety orange now. All I know is that when I have done this kind of thing in the past, when I've speckled onto yarn twisted in a pan, I got coverage I was really happy with rather quickly. So that was really, really nice. And at this rate, I'm going to be able to do a million skeins. So, oh man, I don't know what I was thinking. Okay, this should be fluorescent lemon. See, the one little concern that I do have is that we are sort of going after some of the same areas. That, like, as I do this, even though I know that things are twisted up, my concern is a bit that we are covering some of the same spots. And actually, you know what I can do? I did 3 colors on this side. Now let's flip. Because I was afraid that things were going to get too dense. Let's do the other 3 colors on this other side. That should help with the distribution. Okay, next up is Radioactive. There we go. Which, it's funny, the color at first isn't always my favorite, but then it does turn more green. But it does end up looking like very yellow green. I think that, like, I would also enjoy mixing this color with some blue. I probably would like that. All right, let's do Frozen. Now, of all the colors, Frozen is our non-fluorescent color. So Frozen is just a bright blue, but there are no fluorescent properties to it. Now, see here, I know that those specs are going to be in line with each other, but randomness. We're going for some amount of randomness. And then finally, we've got some Purple Pop, which is a awesome, fun color, but rather bright. Okay. I don't know if I did a really good job of, like, moving around where I was placing things, but we will see. So I am in fact glad that I have my yarn mop around. I will continue to use it as we dye more yarn because we have lots of dye. But let's see if I can zoom out a bit further so we can open these up. Okay, not really that much further. So I am now opening this. Okay, and the yarn, the colors are all present like on the outside of the skein, and there is a way that I can now twist it. Oh dear. Which I don't know if I was able to show very well, but I can twist it in a way that not a lot of the color that we saw before is present. And so this time I need to add less color for sure. Let's see if I can show you better on the stroll. So all of these colors, there's like an interior of the skein that doesn't really have any color yet. So I'm trying to sort of move the color that we have already to the inside and then retwist, which isn't perfect. This is going to give us some spread. This is absolutely giving us some spread of the colors, but yeah, we'll see. We're trying something. We're trying something. Okay, let's go for, what color are you? Orange. Okay. That wasn't quite the color I wanted, but let's do, I'm now picking these colors a little bit more at random based on what I see and don't see. Yellow. And I'm certainly not going on as many times. It may have been easier if I just had everything just opened up. So we'll see. We'll see how this compares to just like my typical yarn mop attempts. Okay. Because what we're doing here also, just by going on the surface, is you can see that we're getting tons of spread of these colors. So maybe I should have steam set it before trying this. But, you know, we're trying something. So sometimes things work just the way you expect, and other times it really doesn't. Green. I'm feeling a lot less planned now that I'm doing it this way. And yeah, I don't know. Let's see. I think that the yarn looks really cool. It looks really cool, but I don't think this is giving me the effect that I really loved from twisting the minis. I think that this is something that I could really, really like and is rainbow, neon, and fun, but I think it might be better for me to spread it out and try to add the colors on sort of where I think I want them versus trying it twisted. I think the twisting may be throwing me off a little bit. Because see, now if I come in, I think if I was trying to do this in like a steam can or something, oh, that's orange. And also if I pay attention to what colors I have. If I was doing this in a steam pan, then having it twisted is a really nice way to get the speckles sort of where you want them. But if I'm going on the countertop anyway, then I may as well just go for it. And another thing, when I opened those minis up and I was like, oh my gosh, I love this distribution. It's because like if you add dye randomly on 10-gram minis and then sort of rotate them around, you're going to get perfect like random distribution of colors. You know, that's going to work out like amazingly well. Whereas with this, it's a bit harder. But yeah, I think that if I was going to do this opened up, like I'm doing right now, This is giving me a little more control over the distribution because I have so many colors. And I'm going to carefully flip and move. So I still think that what we're ending up with is really pretty and it's fun. Yeah, it's just not quite what I was going for. But now I can look for random long patches that don't have color. There's more of that over on the scroll. Before going into the yellow, I definitely want to wipe off the pink. Let's see, I think this is the yellow. Could be green, but no, I think I was right. I think that this is our yellow. So this is fun. I like this color. It's, I like it a lot. I didn't hit that vision that I had, which is perfectly okay because I still really like this. I mean, I love neon rainbows. What color is missing? I don't know. Like, I can't decide if anything feels missing. Certainly the blue doesn't always have like the same punch as some of the other colors. Aha, purple. Purple pop's a hard one because it is so pink as well that sometimes you don't feel the purple the same kind of way. Yeah, I'm pretty happy. I think there's just a few other spots where I would like there to be some color before we come and start to have fun using up the rest of these colors. But actually, I'm feeling fairly satisfied. And of course, I'm realizing that I may have been partially off camera this entire time. But here is our stroll, and here is our swish. They're both really pretty. Add a tiny bit more green. All right, I am going to call this, and I am going to go place these two in my steamer basket. And we have so much dye on the counter that I'm going to come with this yarn mop I have been using and just sort of clean things up. So I think I like the effects that we got on our yarn. I do, but I don't think I like it more necessarily than just really going in ham and going really randomly around our yarn. So I'm gonna go pop this into the steamer basket as well, just for 5 minutes, just to set that yarn mop a tiny bit, because I might then pop it into the water with vinegar. And then the rest of the yarn I do want to steam set for 30 minutes at least. With the rest of these leftover dyes, I brought over the yarn mop that I had let steam set for 5 minutes and popped that back into the water with some vinegar, along with another skein of Scroll and one of Swish DK. And then I went in and started treating these like I would with my Neon Rainbow yarn mop, paying less attention to where I placed the color, but really getting my fingers in the dyes and finger painting these colors on extremely randomly. This time I don't mind if some of the color sections are longer versus shorter, and I am really just letting the colors speak to me and help decide where they belong on the skein, which is a lot more like what I do when I am using a yarn mop for a video, because I'm not really thinking about where the color goes as much as I'm looking for white space on the yarn to wipe my gloves onto. And I know I'm gonna love every single one of the colorways I create in this video. There was just something so magical about dyeing 10 grams of yarn at a time and having that really awesome random distribution. And honestly, I think the best way to achieve that would be to dye 10 gram mini skeins in that and start at various points in the colorways. And that's sort of what would give that really nice randomness and shifting and change for a project. You know, once I started wiping out the containers, I realized like these bright dyes can go so far with so little, but you can also use a bit more and get a really good punch. And wiping out this jar worked perfectly for creating these much more random, larger patches of color yarn mops that honestly are different from the yarn mops that I often would create with these colors, but this is what worked well with what I was working with today. So anyway, once I was satisfied with the color coverage, I popped these 3 skeins into my steamer basket for 30 minutes. You know, out of the steamer basket, I like this recreation a lot more than I thought I did. I always forget how much prettier the green really gets once you steam set it. It looks very brownish almost before that. So I'm actually really happy with these, and I'm excited to see how these look with the more mop colorways, because the color sections are bigger. I think the two would blend and could be used together really nicely in a project. Yeah, compared to the others, well, on top we have our original yarn mop, but our color sections are in general a lot larger. So I'm gonna let all of this cool so then we can go wash it. Let's wash all of our neon yarn together, and we'll see if I can still tell the difference between these colorways in a little while. I feel like I will, because the ones we started with have smaller patches of color. The ones we did at the end have bigger patches of color. Again, very similar, but different colorways. So the good news is that I didn't see any bleeding. I don't see any color on my hands. I'm now going to add some dish soap. I had a question recently in the October that I am filming this about why I use clear dish soap and whether Dawn or other dish soaps work fine. I only use clear dish soap for filming purposes because if we see a hint of color in the water, I don't want anyone to think it's because the soap had some pigment in it. So that's the only reason why I personally use untinted soap. And, well, there is no color in here at all. So I am going to finish rinsing out the soap. Then I'm going to put the yarn through my spin dryer, hang it up to dry, and then we can come back and see what the finished dry yarn looks like. We created multiple beautiful rainbow colorways here. And I think it's really different whether we went for the small patches of color versus when at the end I was wiping out the cups to really leave no dye behind with those final 3 skeins over on the left. These skeins that I created are perfectly lovely and will give us a very speckled rainbow effect with either the fingering or DK weight yarn, with whatever we make with it. I do think that it was not a mistake, but it wasn't worth the time to try to twist the skeins and speckle on top of it. While that works, I think, with immersion dyeing and other techniques, given that we were doing a countertop method here, which meant that the colors weren't setting before I was moving it again, meant that it just made things a little bit harder. It is easier to get the distribution I want, and it would have been easier to get less color overall had I started out with the skeins spread out, added color, and just flipped. Because then I could randomly distribute the different colors around as I saw fit a little bit easier. Now, I still plan, and of course this video may come out before you are watching this one, to try speckling again in an episode using Twisted Skeins immersion in a pan, because I really liked that for getting a nice subtle distribution from a ChemKnits dye-along. And that might work with these neon rainbows as well. So I mean, I'm blabbering on. I like this colorway. I love neon rainbows. It's bright, it's fun, it's happy. And the only complaint isn't the right word. I think that the only thing that in my head, there was a cleanness to what I was going for that I don't feel here. But that's also because when you dye 10 gram mini skeins and bundle them together and have random on each one and bundle it together, it's gonna look extremely clean. Clean in that there will be blue, a few strands with blue here, and then a few strands with blue there, and it's gonna feel a lot more random, whereas here we feel it more across. But when knit or crocheted, it will still be random. It just doesn't have that same look in skein. And also, effectively, those bundles of 10 gram mini skeins were effectively re-skeined, if you think about it, because that's not how it was dyed. So I don't think I achieved that look I was going for, but I achieved something very similar, random, neon speckles that is gorgeous, and so I am happy with that. These more random yarn mops are fun as well. We've got a little bit of every color on every skein, and it's just fun. I really enjoy playing with these neon fluorescent colors. Do you like playing with them as much as I do? If so, please let me know down in the comments below. Twisted up, these speckled skeins are looking rather nice. I mean, I think that being the dyer, I know here that the color patches are smaller and more distributed throughout the skein compared to these other ones where the color patches are actually larger. I think twisted up it might be a tiny bit more similar looking, but either way, I love the yarn. It's great. I hope you're not bored with these videos. I suppose, besides Hanukkah, the last one maybe was longer ago, so that's not so bad. But I really enjoy playing with this palette. Maybe it's the 90s kid in me, but I love bright neon fluorescent colors. And oh my gosh, I even have some Lisa Frank nail polish that I'm not wearing right now. This is a travesty. Sorry, but anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure you're subscribed, smash that notification button, and make sure that you know every time I post a new video. And if you love the yarn that I dye, go and check out the ChemKnits Creations Etsy shop. My shop is filled with yarn that I've dyed in my videos, featured in my videos, so you can go and watch exactly how I created it while you are crafting with it, and I think it's just so much fun. I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and thank you so much for watching.